here on the app. But as we start the second hour, we started, guys, where we began the first hour. The Cavs defeating the Pistons, 117-113, I believe it was.
117 was
a much higher scoring game than we all expected yesterday.
Overtime played a role in it.
That's true.
It's 103-103 at the end of regulation.
Fair enough. But a lot of us had scores in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And in the first half, it looked like it was going that way. It was the first quarter and a half was low scoring, and then it picked up. But
it was touch and go.
End to the fourth quarter by the Cavs, who finally get that elusive win, Mike, on the road.
Yeah, we talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Style points don't matter. It's just a win is a win in the playoffs. I don't even know that
you need to say that.
I was getting in the live show last night we did. People were like, it wasn't pretty yet, and I was like, guys, style points don't matter. So that's
just
why
ignore those people. They're losers.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
The Cavs won a road playoff game. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
But we spent earlier in the show talking about how they're starting to potentially change the narrative, assuming they can continue this.
Yeah, sure.
And we're going to focus a little more on the individual performances, and I want to just highlight three people real quick. James Harden, that is exactly why you traded for James Harden. He was the 1A last night. You traded him to be the 1B, but he was the 1A last night, and he was the settling point for the Cavs offense down the stretch.
Yeah.
We'll dive into more. I'm just going to give the overview, then we can pick and choose. Evan Mobley was terrific once again. 19 points, 8 rebounds, 8 assists, which was, I thought, the most impressive part of his game. He had 3 blocks, including 2 in the fourth quarter, which led to shot clock violations for Detroit. He was also very good. But the MVP of last night's game, the guy that deserves all the flowers this morning, is Max Strus. 6 of 8 from beyond the arc for 20 points off the bench.
Yep.
8 rebounds.
Yeah.
And the steal in overtime that gave the Cavs 112 points, put them up 3 possessions, and Detroit was never able to get back into it. The way the Cavs schemed Max Strus open, the way Max Strus was catching and firing with almost no dip to beat the closeouts was beyond impressive. And as you can see some of these highlights here, that's just catch shoot. Cade wasn't even in bad position.
Yeah.
Max Strus was so good last night. And in game 3, he had the game-winning steal on the inbounds pass from Cade Cunningham. Kenny Atkinson said afterwards, we have a winning play in the locker room after every game. That was the winning play. Last night, the winning play was the steal on Cade Cunningham. The Cavs do not end their playoff road winless drought without every ounce of Max Strus last night. And just because the numbers on the screen are really good, he has an even more impact than those indicate. He was incredible, and Max Strus was my MVP yesterday.
Man, he kept him in the game when it was touch and go. He also had, I think him and Sam Merrill do a tremendous job. Some of these closeouts that the Pistons have had has been phenomenal. They're not even really open shots. Like McNuggets always talks about the statistics about wide open shots and whether it's a contest.
Wide open versus contested, yep.
Yeah, these was contested, and they were knocking them down. That's to me, if you went with Max Strus, I ain't got no problems with you. But the person I got to give flowers to is Evan Mobley. Listen, we talked about it a little bit. Evan Mobley hit a big-time 3 that really put them back in contention when it looks like they were down 7 or 8 or whatever the case may be. He had a nice move to the rack when he dunked on Duren, left-handed. I thought he passed the ball out of the high post very well. He distributed the ball, and for the first time in a long time, we started to see that high-low action once again with him and Jared Allen running the 2 bigs. And then the thing that I liked the most was Evan Mobley's defense. I've always told Evan, like, listen, man, you're a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, and we know the Thompson twins are elite defenders. But listen, when it comes to defenders, it's Wemby, it's the Thompson dudes, but you got a Defensive Player of the Year award. Like, you have to dominate on the backboard. You got to dominate in contest. You got to dominate when you're switching off, hounding guards off the pick and roll. And I think that the biggest reason why Tobias Harris is struggling is if Thompson is off the court, Evan Mobley gives Tobias Harris all types of fits, because now it's the length, it's the contest. That little 15-footer of the fadeaway that was going all series, you start to see that's missing right now because Evan Mobley is contesting. I got to give him his flowers because without that 3-point shot down in the fourth quarter, they don't get to overtime.
So Evan Mobley's your MVP.
I'll give it to Mobley.
And Max Strus is your MVP.
Based off the expectations for the player and what they delivered,
there's no qualifications.
Yeah.
That tells you how well the Cavs played. Stupid people complaining about how they won.
This was
we have 3 different MVPs.
This was the most impressive win that they've had in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
Hands down.
If you're complaining after last night, you're a miserable human being. And I've been called a miserable human being, so I am a proper person to judge. To me, James Harden was the MVP.
Yeah,
I mean,
I can't hate.
Max Strus was the X factor that Tyvis said Sam Merrill was going to be. It was actually Max Strus. But listen, James Harden, there was time like in the late second quarter where I'm like, what is he doing? He had like 3 bad turnovers in like a 2-minute stretch. I'm like, but outside of that couple of minutes with those 3, and I know he had 6 turnovers, but the other 3 were sprinkled about. Besides that couple of minutes he was great.
Yeah.
He took the ball to the hoop, he made great choices overall with the basketball. He didn't shoot it well from 3, but shot it great from inside the 3-point line. Was clutch on the line, got rebounds, got assists. He blocked 3 shots.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
It was some of the best.
James Harden.
It was some of the best defensive basketball we've seen from James Harden
by the
in a
way,
long time.
Max Strus played great on defense too.
Dean Wade plays great defense.
The defensive effort, the hustle, the effort. Like we know Mobley's great defensively. We know that. But like the hustle and effort from guys like Strus, from Merrill, from Harden, like these guys and everybody that played, like Tyson, forget Tyson, he played 3 minutes and got into a fight. But of the 8 guys that played, the only one you can complain about at all is Donovan. And even he hit some big shots late in the game and overtime. Even the minutes that Merrill played, solid minutes.
Yep.
Schroeder gave you good minutes, and he's the pain in the neck out there. So I think I like that Kenny, and I've killed Kenny.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But I like that they've cut the rotation. It's 8 guys right now.
Yep.
And that's all the guys that should play. I don't need anybody else. I don't need Tyson playing right now.
And they've made some good
By the
adjustments.
way, I don't need him getting into a fight. What is he doing out there? That was stupid.
I love Jalen. He's
Grow
my
up
guy.
now.
Not a great stand. Earl,
No.
who'd you think was the most impressive yesterday?
I got to give an attaboy to Jared Allen. I know, like,
Yep.
we stay on Jared Allen a
played
lot
great.
about being soft and not about being consistent, but I thought he showed up phenomenal in Game 5, and he had 6 offensive rebounds. That led the team, and
Great
his
game.
plus-minus was 14. So, I mean, with 16 points, he had 2 blocks, another steal, the 6 offensive rebounds. He contributed, I thought, in a great way in his 36 minutes of play. So I got to give a tip of the cap to J.A.
100%. And to Bull's point,
Yeah.
Donovan's the one guy you look at and go, that's not the Donovan game we need to win big.
It wasn't
Everyone else,
awful.
No, it wasn't
in the
terrible,
end,
but he was.
But you know, you
it wasn't the
expected better.
standard Donovan.
Right.
With that
But there's
20.
nobody else you
No
say
one
that
else.
about.
And
Nobody.
the Cavs won a game on the road, which they
Yeah.
hadn't done all postseason.
Right.
Said in the first hour, I'll say it again, where Donovan got outplayed by Dennis Jenkins. And they were down 15 points. And they had 20 points, or they allowed 20 points off turnovers in the first half. They cut that down to just 7 in the second half.
Yeah.
They got 7 straight defensive stops from the 3-minute mark to the end of the game.
Yeah.
That allowed them to go on a 9-0 run, send it to overtime, and eventually win in overtime. They held Detroit scoreless for for a 5-minute stretch, the end of regulation, into overtime.
Yeah.
This was the team that was supposed to wilt. That we had said soft isn't built for these moments. We don't know if they have the mental fortitude and the mental resilience to be able to withstand these things. And in last night's game, and just one game, they haven't proven anything, they haven't changed anything yet. They were the team that did all the little things that contribute to winning. The
Yes.
James Harden offensive rebound late. The Max Strus steal late. The getting the stop when the game was tied when they needed to give them a
Jared
chance
Allen
to win.
follow
The
from
Jared
the
Allen
Mobley
chance
miss.
to win. All the little
I thought
things.
that was
Just real quick, all the little
right,
things that have gone against the Cavs in all these situations over the last 4 years. Go back
It's
to
not
game.
that they went against them necessarily. It's that they didn't make them happen, right?
Sure, but I'm saying
Yeah.
the other team was able to be the
Did 'em.
And it was game
Yeah.
2, Indiana. They missed
Yeah.
the rebound. It goes back to Halliburton. He hits the dagger. All those little things that have gone against them or they weren't able to make, however you want to phrase it. They did last night on the road against a team that's supposed to be tougher, that had a 15-point lead in the first half, and they deserve all the flowers.
Here's why I'll push back a little bit on the Donovan medium game. You look at the Cavs and you say, okay, let's look at the guys who contributed. So Harden gives you 30. Max Strus gave you what, 20? What?
20, just on the dot, 20.
20.
Mobley
Evan
at
Mobley,
19.
19.
Jared
Allen,
Allen,
16 and 10.
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, 21.
Yeah.
If you get that, if you look at the spread of the distribution with the points.
Yeah.
And the thing you want from your superstar is you want them to take it upon themselves in the most clutch moments. I don't care what you did the first 4 quarters. In overtime, give me the 5 points.
He made some
the,
big
the,
shots.
the, the big shot.
But he didn't have a great game. That's all we're saying.
No,
he
didn't have.
He had a chance to win in a regulation and got stripped. It was not a foul. It was not a foul.
It wasn't one of his best.
And he missed 2 open threes, but I hear what you're saying.
It wasn't a terrible game.
No,
but
it was.
Yeah.
It wasn't what he was giving us, like the 30. The 40 point and a couple two games prior to that. But you always know that the Cavs are moving and turning a corner because they didn't have to have Donovan score 50.
Yeah.
That's the encouraging part. And we didn't know if James still had enough in the tank. We knew James can give you 10 assists. But did we know he could give us 30?
No. And in the past, they've crumbled every time. I was telling my dad in the car right in. Game 6 against Orlando 2 years ago. Donovan scores 50 points. And they lose the game. Why?
Yeah.
Because no one else was able to generate offense,
right.
and now they have other options. I do find it funny, real quick, Bull.
Yeah.
That in the aftermath of yesterday's loss, you had Pistons players and JB Bickerstaff complaining about the Cavs' physicality. When have we ever heard in the last 4 years that a team's complaining about the Cavs being the more physical team?
And JB was hoping to get the calls. He's like, we didn't get the calls on the road. Maybe we'll get them at home like we did in Game 1, 2. I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily. They say that the Cavs were in Games 1 and 2, people were complaining that the Pistons were getting too many calls. No, the Pistons were the more aggressive team in Game 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And the Cavs have been the more aggressive team, and they were yesterday, and that's why they got almost double the free throw attempts. And
fouling down the stretch skews it a little bit.
Okay, but still,
they had more.
Yeah, they had more. And the Cavs only out-rebounded the Pistons by 4, but didn't it feel like more than that? I felt like they dominated the glass.
I feel like they could talk about the physicality or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
The refs let them both play the first 3 quarters. They tightened it up in the fourth quarter, and they they kind of put the reins on.
Yeah.
But the thing that JB has to be disappointed with, you were up 9.
They were 15.
Forget the refs.
And then 9.
But 9 with 2:40 to go. Win the game.
That's supposed to be game
They had
time.
to make one bucket.
And you get one basket,
bucket, they
it's
win.
done. It's done.
Most likely.
And you know what? We've seen the Cavs blow leads like that in in multiple series.
Last series, Toronto.
For once, they did everything they needed to do to make it happen.
I don't even think, I was going to say I would argue, but I don't even think there's a debate. This was the most significant road victory in the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show Cavs era.
100%.
1,000%.
There's not even any other in contention.
Actually, to be truthful, besides the LeBron teams, and I would say 16.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones was, obviously the Game 5 on the road.
Biggest non-LeBron road win since at least 30 years, 30-something years.
And then, the road for them to go to the finals, I believe, in 18 when they beat Boston in Game 7.
But he said non-LeBron.
Non-LeBron. But definitely, because you got to think about it, guys. We had a question whether or not the Cavs could win a road game when they weren't the top seed.
Right.
They've needed Game 7s to beat lower seeds at home.
Yeah.
So for them to climb the mountain, get over the hump, and get to where they are now the only thing we always say is finish your breakfast.
Yep.
The Pistons, they will not fold, and JB talked about it. They will play desperate. They will kick, drag, fight, scream their way up out of there. You're going to have to put them away. But if you can land a haymaker, if you can come out and smack them and let them know, this is one of them nights, you need to have these dudes by 25 at halftime and let them know it's done.
I want nothing to do with the Game 7 back in Detroit.
I used the boxing analogy in the first hour. Without Detroit, they'll throw some jabs, and they're a good fighter, but I'm not sure they have knockout power, right?
No, especially at this point.
And the Cavs just landed a blow that dropped Detroit. They didn't knock them out cold. They dropped Detroit.
Standing 8 count.
Now, Detroit's going to get back up.
Yeah.
And we're going to see the mentality of the Cavs. If they can go in for the kill, or if they're going to play with their food and let this extend and give Detroit a chance to come back. I hope, between the likes of Donovan, the likes of James, the likes of Jared Allen, who's been here before, and Evan Mobley, who are now seeing, all right, we know what it takes to win. We haven't lost at home yet. We don't want to play a Game 7. Go for the kill. I hope that all of that translates to a big lead in Game 7 early.
Yeah.
And again, that in the second half, we're texting about get ready for New York.
Go ahead, Earl. What do you got?
I think the most impressive thing to me was the Cavs turned the ball over 17 times and conceded 27 points off of those turnovers. So when we talk about the grit, the tenacity, and how the Cleveland Cavaliers was able to come away victorious in overtime on the road, I think that's something that we have to like point out. The fact that they did turn the ball over a lot again, and they did concede a lot of points off of turnovers again, and yet they walked away victorious.
27 points off turnovers on that. 20 came in the first half, 7 came in the second plus overtime. They made a drastic difference in how Detroit was able to score because they had 60 points in the first half. 20 of those 60 came off turnovers. They had 53 points in the second half plus overtime. Only 7 of those came via
20,
turnover.
I believe it was 20-2 or 20-4.
It was 22 in the first half.
22, yeah.
The Cavs are just much better than Detroit in half court.
Yes.
When it comes to half court offense, and especially down the stretch, I mean, Detroit just was lost.
Yeah.
It's like
four shot clock violations in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
4.
That's crazy.
You look at, it's just tough. I compared it in the first half. Kate Cunningham reminds me of some of those LeBron teams, 06, 07, where
it was him and nobody.
He has to contribute. He has to be the facilitator. He has to be the guy that brings the ball up. He needs to make sure he hits all the big shots. And it just wears on you. You don't really know it until you get into the crunch time moments, and then you have mental lapses where he doesn't block out James Harden, and James Harden misses a shot. He gets the rebound, and those are the things that happen when you're fatigued, not only physically but mentally. And I look at it from a perspective of the Cavs have a chance. They got 2 guys. They got Harden. They got Donovan Mitchell. Evan Mobley's have been ascending. I think the pressure is starting to get on Detroit to know, even if we stop one of them,
they got 2 others. And last night with Mobley, and I want to emphasize this as much as I can. His playmaking was better than his scoring. Now, he had the one left-handed dunk on Asar Thompson. He had 2 threes. 19 points is impressive. But his 8 assists, Detroit tried to make him be a decision maker. And and I posted it on Twitter, and you can see some of these clips here. His passes out of the short roll were terrific. And go back to that Knicks series 4 years ago, Bull, and watch New York tried this exact same defensive
They bullied
strategy.
him.
Well, they bullied him, but they tried to make him make decisions, and it just wasn't processing quickly enough. And now, and it's not every time, but it's about 80%, he's able to read the defense and figure out, do I shoot? Do I throw the lob to Allen? Do I kick to the opposite corner? In a half second or less. Draymond Green, historically, this is what makes Draymond such an impossible player to defend with the spacing that the Warriors have, because he is the best, in my opinion, that I've ever seen, the best short roll processor and passer that I've ever seen. Mobley's not at that level. But Draymond makes decisions. They did sports science in this. It's about 0.3 seconds. Mobley's in that 0.5 to 0.6 range, upper 15% of the league. It changes everything from a defensive standpoint when you have less than half a second or just over half a second to figure out where are you at. That's the right play, and you make it more.
Bigger basketball nerd. I mean, come on.
But you saw it last night.
Makes a lot of sense, dog.
You can roll the clips again. I mean,
it's 0.3 seconds and blah, 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 blah.
You're talking about pop-up time as a catcher and Patrick Bailey throwing guys out. Well, losing that. You have a spreadsheet for every time you use the bathroom in the last 28 years.
First of all,
this bathroom break was only a number 1.
I didn't say I wasn't a baseball and TV nerd. I'm just saying you're a basketball nerd.
My stool was a little harder today.
Number 2,
got to put it in my spreadsheet.
I did not.
Big ball now. Can we hit my stats?
I did not mention Patrick Bailey's pop-up time.
You would have if we had more time.
No, I didn't. I don't actually know his pop-up time. I don't know.
He's a platinum glove guy. Come on now, Bull.
That's overrated. He shouldn't have been. Catcher shouldn't be a platinum glove.
I don't know if we could keep saying pop-up time. That's like that's kind of.
All right, it's time for us to pop in a commercial.